So testing 1, 2. Is the little thing moving on the lever? The sound lever moving? Testing 1, 2. Okay. Just take the camera out the thing so you could. Okay, cool.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, so welcome you guys to yet another live cooking class. I'm super excited because today it is all about Thanksgiving desserts, right? And it's my take. It's a classic remix on those desserts. It's going to be an absolute fantastic hour. Don't forget, all the recipes are going to be posted at dariuscooks.com. All right. As well, any questions you have, any comments, you can certainly go to the comment section. You can type them up and we will be able to answer the questions live, read the comments live. We got some folks here helping out, so it's going to be an absolute fantastic time. All right. So first things first, you know, in tradition of all things Darius Cooks, we got to get started with a sangria, right? You know, I absolutely love making sangria. You can do it with just virtually almost anything. And today I'm going to do my peach cobbler sangria. So I'm really excited about this. And I think it's going to be really fantastic. You talk about Thanksgiving, you talk about holidays. So peach cobbler really is where it's at. All right. So let me show you how we do this. It's super simple to do. First things first is I took just regular frozen peaches. Okay, and I sauteed those for I blended the frozen peaches with a little bit of sugar and some water to sweeten up the whole match, right? So I'm going to take that and just pour that into our pitcher. So this is literally just peach puree, all right, along with a little bit of sugar, a little bit of water. That part you can do, all right, because again, it is what? Peach cobbler, all right? So to help drive home some of that good peach flavor, I got a little bit of peach snaps. I'm going to throw that in as well. You know, you can make this as peachy as you like. It's completely up to you, all right? Maybe a little more, all right? And then what I love about peach cobbler is that you get that peach, you get the cinnamon, and there's a little hint of that vanilla. So in here is a little bit of vanilla vodka that's going to go in as well, all right? You know, just a smidgen or so, just to bump it up, all right? It's the holidays. You worked hard all year. There you go, all right? So as little or as much of that as you like. And this is peach cobbler, right? So I'm going to give it a slow stir. All right. So we got the peach happening. We've got everything going in. All right. A little bit of the vanilla. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of cinnamon as well. Just a little bit to drive home some of that peach cobbler flavor. Right. So you got the vanilla, you got the peach, you've got the cinnamon. These flavors remind you of what? Thanksgiving and the holidays. All right. I smell this. This already smells fantastic. And I'm going to just bump it up a notch. So take your favorite brand of white wine. Doesn't matter what you use. You can use anything sweet or you can use a dry white wine too. I love things like a Sauvignon Blanc in here. That would be fantastic. A Chenin Blanc as well. Just throw the whole bottle right into a pitcher. I mean, it's the holidays, huh? And give that a stir. Look at that. There you go. All right. And a lot of times, too, you can get really good wines at really affordable prices. So please do not break the bank on this. All right. So give that a stir. All right. And in traditional sangria fashion, I'm going to grab some ice out the freezer, and throw some ice in. And then it is sangria. So you want to get a little fruit action happening. All right. So look at this. All right, look at that. Tell me that's not going to be delicious. All right. And then the one last thing to really drive home everything is I've got some cookies, right? Your favorite butter cookies. And all I did was crumble them up into a pitcher just like that. All right. I'm just going to take the glass and rim it. Right. So you get just a little bit of that sort of cookie action happening on the outside of the glass. Right. And then there's your cobbler situation right there. All right. Now we got some peach cobbler sangria. I'm going to pour this in and I'm going to give it a taste and see what I'm working with. All right. Here we go. Let's go. I'm excited. Fantastic. Sweet, bright, almost citrusy a little bit, super refreshing. And I didn't go overboard on the cinnamon, right? So you get just barely enough of that cinnamon flavor to let you know what you're working with. That's fantastic. Couple of ingredients, you must give it a try, all right? So I got my sangria working. Let's talk about this cheesecake that we're gonna make. So I'm gonna do a like a vanilla cheesecake, right? But I'm gonna do toasted bourbon, like a pecan glaze on top. So you get sort of like that bourbon pecan pie flavor mixed with the cheesecake, and it's gonna be fantastic, all right? So I'm gonna work on the crust and the filling separately. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna get a stick of butter in, and I wanna melt the stick of butter into a pan, right? Because I want to make the graham cracker crust from scratch. So I'm going to melt down about a stick of butter, all right? And if you've never made graham cracker crust from scratch, you're doing yourself a disjustice because it's fantastic, all right? So just like that, let me grab a knife because I've got graham crackers. Now you could certainly phone this in and buy the ones that are prepared, all right? I'm not judging. You can certainly do that. However, there's something special about the holidays and doing something as simple as this that really sort of say, you know what? I'm putting my stamp, I'm putting a little bit of love on this, all right? So I'm gonna bake this in a spring form pan, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And to do this, it really is about 1.5 of these sleeves of graham crackers, all right? And you just get in here with clean hands and you mix these up just like that. Now, I don't like to go too overboard because I like a little bit of texture, right? So you can certainly pulverize these until there's nothing left, right? Or I think just a little bit more. I like to have some of those bigger pieces happening. And to me, that gives you a really great texture. See, look at that. Not too far on that, all right? Now, graham crackers are good by themselves. They need a little help from a little bit of sugar. So a couple tablespoons of sugar goes in, just like that. How simple is that? I'm gonna grab a spoon because I'm gonna get this all combined really, really well, right? And then just to sort of moisten the whole thing, that's where this melted butter comes in. Now look at this melted butter, all right? Just gonna swirl this around. Right, I don't want to go too far with the butter. Just slightly melt it, just like that. And I'm going to pour this in all around, just like that. Okay, good stuff happening. All right, I'm going to stir it just enough to sort of get the crackers just moist, just like that. Look at that. So just really simple. It's a sleeve and a half of our graham crackers, a couple tablespoons of granulated sugar, and a stick of butter, right? You melt it down, and in literally a couple of minutes, you've got something that is going to be fantastic, and it says, I love you, and it's full of the holidays, all right? So then I put it in this, let me show you what I got. It's a spring form pan, so this could easily come out, right? So that's what I'm using today for this. If you don't have a spring form pan, any sort of 9-incher will definitely work and do the trick, but I like one of these. So get this and you'll have it forever. So our graham crackers go in the bottom, right? And now we have our crust situation happening. Let me show you a little trick that I like to do. Actually take just a regular clean drinking glass, right? The bottom of it. And then you just sort of come in here and stamp it down. Right? I like to have a little bit of it go up the edges. That's just me, right? And see what I mean? When this bakes up, what'll happen because you don't have a bunch of crumbs, you'll get a much chewier texture and consistency with your crust. And that is going to be fantastic. So boom, that's it. How simple was that? All right. Now, before I make the filling, let me just get another sip of this sangria, okay? Because we are sipping and stirring, okay? And the crumbs get right here on your lip. Just lick them off. Okay, filling time. All right, I've gotten cream cheese. You know about this, right? Regular cream cheese. I'm using 2 of those 8-ounce packets of cream cheese, all right? I've got 2 eggs. Now, obviously, this definitely works better when everything is sort of set up at room temperature, so do yourself that favor, right? And take your stuff out the fridge for a little bit, let it get to room temp, and you're all good, all right? I'm gonna throw in a little bit of sugar to sweeten the whole thing up, about a cup and a half of sugar, all right? And then, to really drive home the cheesecake flavor, a little bit of vanilla, right? I sort of eyeball it, and I always put a little too much, but who cares, right? A couple tablespoons of that. And then a really surprising ingredient is a little pinch of salt, right? Because what happens is the salt helps bring out the flavor in everything else. So whenever you're doing sweet stuff like this, a little pinch of salt definitely goes a long way, all right? I got my blender, or my hand mixer rather, and I'm just gonna mix this up. All right, look at that, just like that. Now, how easy was that? How easy and simple was that to mix and combine and get everything ready to go? Now, all I'm gonna do is this, watch. I'm just gonna come in and just finish getting all the bits and pieces of it, right? And when it's room temperature, that's what happens. It goes really quickly. So,
I have a question.
All right, so as I pour this, L'Oreal says we have a question.
All the way from Paris, France.
Oh my gosh, from Paris? Oui.
What can we use instead of graham crackers? They don't have graham crackers in Paris.
Oh, they don't have graham crackers in Paris. Well, I'll tell you what's really good. You could certainly use your favorite cookie. Is really, really good. So if you have like, you know, I don't want to say brands, but the chocolate cookies with the cream in the middle, those work really, really well. You could certainly use like your shortbread cookie, or you could actually make a shortbread cookie crust for this. So if you Google shortbread cookie crust, you could certainly use that instead of graham crackers. There you go. How's that? And then don't break the bank too, right? So if graham crackers ain't on sale, don't buy them. Get what's on sale, and then you'll be all good, all right? My oven is preheated, 350 degrees. This goes right into that hot oven, and it bakes off 30, 35 minutes. You want to do it in just until it sort of starts to set, and then you'll be all good, all right? So with that, you know, that's cheesecake, right? But you got to get the bourbon part happening. So for the bourbon part, I'm going to throw in some pecan halves, right? So our pecans are going to go right in here, right? And then to add to this, I got a little bit of butter that'll help make this really, really good. So about a half stick of butter is going to go in as well, all right? And then I got to get some brown sugar action happening. And what this really puts you in the mind of, if you think about pecan pie, this is the filling for the pecan pie, except we're going to turn it into a glaze and drizzle it right on top. So that's a cup of brown sugar. And listen, if I'm going too fast, don't worry, because the recipes are going to be at DariusCooks.com. All right. I'm going to throw in this situation, 2 eggs. Just like that. Crack them right in there. Okay. And then I got to get a spoon. I'm going to stir it up. 3 more simple ingredients. So first of all, get in here and let's try to get everything sort of incorporated and combined before we add the rest of our ingredients. So I'm going to put a little bit of vanilla into the mix, a little pinch of salt because we're baking, right? Remember, salt just really helps bring out the flavor in everything you're doing. So a little pinch of that goes in. And then I've got some corn syrup that I'm going to throw in as well. All right. And that's going to complete the whole mix for now. And then put this on the stove. I'm going to let this do its thing. All right. Just constantly stir. And then what will happen is it'll come together and it'll form a really great sauce. Right. And then what you want to do once you're done, take a little bit of bourbon, pour your bourbon in, and look at this. This is what you end up with. You end up with something that's thick, juicy, and luscious, and it reminds you of the inside of your pie, right? Now, I got that cheesecake in the oven, and I know you're saying, wait a minute, we only got an hour. How in the heck are you gonna do this? Well, look at that. I've got a cheesecake done and ready to go, okay? This is super exciting for me. I'm so excited about this. So what I'm gonna do is take the glaze. Now remember, all you do is just stir, stir, stir on low heat on the stove until it comes together into this thick, luscious sauce, just like this. And then all you do is drizzle this sauce right over the top with those pecans and that bourbon, just like this, okay? That's it, that's all you do. And you do it quietly, so you respect it. And then you smooth it out, and there you go, all right? We're gonna cut this in a sec, show you what it looks like on the inside, but now you have essentially your bourbon pecan pie cheesecake right there, ladies and gentlemen, ready to go. How simple was that? All right, tell me you can do this. Super easy, super fantastic, all right? Now the thing about it is I wanna remind you, you put the cheesecake in the oven. The cheesecake does need to bake for about 35 minutes. You want it just until it sets, all right? Once it's done setting, take it out, let it cool, all right? I put mine in the fridge at least 4 hours, if you can, overnight. What happens is the cheese and the egg and the whole creamy part just sort of just relaxes itself. So when you cut into it, it's super creamy and it's super amazing. So this was in the fridge overnight. So I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit. I'm gonna cut it open. It's gonna be a fantastic time, all right? Recipe number 2, we're done, all right? Let's knock out recipe number 3 real quick, all right? So I'm gonna show you the base of this cake, okay? This cake batter, and then I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna split the cake batter essentially into 3 different recipes, okay? So the first is just our vanilla buttermilk cake. If you follow me for any period of time, and you've been at DariusCooks.com, you know how we get down on the vanilla buttermilk cake. It's one of my favorite cakes to make because it's simple to do, all right? You don't need a bunch of equipment. I'm gonna use just a bowl and a whisk to make it happen, all right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm dropping in 1.5 cups of buttermilk, all right? I love using buttermilk for this because it lends itself to be really, really good. And when this cake sits, that buttermilk just makes everything so much moist, all right? So it's 1.5 cups of buttermilk, all right? Now, instead of using butter, I'm gonna use oil. So I'm gonna use about 1 cup of oil in here as well, all right? So I'm gonna measure that out too. All right, simple ingredients. Okay, cool. So there's our oil. Now watch me, all right? I'm gonna drop in 2 cups of sugar, all right? 2 cups of sugar. It's very simple to do, all right? So we got buttermilk, we got our oil, and we got our sugar. And people say all the time, you know, I can't bake. I don't know how to do it. All you do is dump it into a bowl and you stir it. This is a foolproof recipe. You cannot mess this up, all right? So get in here and stir. Look at that. And it comes together just like that. All right, the next part is simple, all right? I'm gonna drop in my eggs and my vanilla. So I got 2 eggs ready to rock and roll, right? Just gonna cut those in. So there's 1 egg, right? Like that. And here's my second. All right, and I got a little shell in there. See, this is cooking for real. You know, y'all got me on live. So let me get the shell out. There's another one in there somewhere. I don't know where it's at though. Well, you know, it's in here, and you know, the shell adds a little protein or something. So I think you'll be all right. I don't know where it's at. It's down there though, okay? You can't see it. All right, well, if you crunch on one, Merry Christmas, huh? All right. Okay, so listen, this is the 2 eggs that go in, all right? The eggs and a little bit of vanilla, all right? A tablespoon and a half of vanilla. That's our flavoring, all right? So I'm gonna stir this up. And if I see those eggshells in there, you gotta come in. You know, where is that? All right. So then I gotta drop in a literally just 2 more ingredients and we have our vanilla buttermilk cake done. So tell me, you say you can't bake. People always say, oh my gosh, like I got to use a box cake mix. You don't. You could do this, all right? I'm throwing in a little bit of baking soda. Remember, the magic ingredient here is a little bit of salt as well, all right? And I'm going to drop in 2.5 cups of flour to finish this off, all right? Now, this was, oh, there's a question.
Are you using vegetable oil on the cake?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually did use, you know, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what I use. I used really what was ever on sale. All right. So you want to use a non-flavored oil. So a vegetable oil would work. Canola oil would work. You could certainly use, you know, canola, vegetable, or corn. That's the other one. So one of those 3 for the cake, but stay away from like olive oil, grapeseed oil, things like that. All right. So look, this is it. This is our cake mix. Very simple to do. I did this live for you guys. Just be sure you don't get any eggshell in the batter and you'll be good to go, okay? Other than that, it's a very forgiving and a very easy cake batter and you really can't mess this up, okay?
We have another question.
And I have another answer.
From James Knox.
James
what
Knox.
if I want to use butter instead of oil?
Well,
How much butter would I use?
Well, James, if you use butter, you have to change all the dimensions altogether, right? The reason I'm using oil is because I believe in making things simple. If you use butter, put it on me. If you use butter, sometimes with butter, you have to cream the butter with the sugar first, and it just gets to be way too much for people to do sometimes. So this is easy because you just dump everything into a bowl and stir. So you could find a recipe with butter, but this one works so much better. Plus, the reason I like the oil is because it keeps your cake super moist, right? The next day, I don't know what happens between the time you take it out the oven and 24 hours, but it becomes super, super, super moist the next day. If you use butter, sometimes you lose that with the butter, all right? So the oil is the way to go for me, okay? All right, so in another bowl, I'm gonna take some of our cake batter. Now this is it. This is our base. You can certainly bake this cake batter up and it would be fantastic, right? But I'm gonna just take the cake batter and flip it to another recipe, all right? I'm gonna add in a little bit of cinnamon, just like that. And I've got some carrots that I've grated in a food processor that I'm also gonna drop in here as well. Look at this, just regular carrots. These go right in, okay? I'm gonna grab a spatula and I'm gonna get this all combined really well. And guess what we've got, guys? We've got the batter for our carrot cake Twinkies, okay? The oven is preheated as well to 350 degrees. And there you go, all right? That vanilla buttermilk cake served 2 purposes, all right? So far, I'll make it serve another one in a second. So here's the mold, all right, that I'm gonna use, just like this. And to help me out, the way I do this is I always pour the batter into the measuring cup, right? And then I use that so I control my spillage, because you don't want no spillage all over the counter, okay? So then just like this, make sure your pans are greased and floured. And then I'm going 3/4 of the way up, right? The baking soda is gonna help us give us a little bit of rise along with those eggs. So that's it. Now I'm doing carrot cake, but of course you could do any flavor you want to, right? Take out the carrots and the cinnamon, add a little chocolate. There you go. You've got chocolate Twinkies. If you can find some strawberry preserves, whisk those in, and then you've got amazing, amazing, amazing strawberry Twinkies. So you've got literally a bunch of ways you can play around with the flavorings on this. All right, oven's preheated to 350 degrees. These are gonna go right into that hot oven as well. Okay, so these are in, baking away. All right, now let's flip it to yet another recipe with that same batter. Okay, the same batter. Let's drop in a little bit of unsweetened cocoa powder. Right, now you gotta be careful with this stuff. It's dangerously delicious, and when you stir it, move your nose, okay? Because it's like flour. It gets everywhere when you start to stir it up, okay? Speaking of stirring, let's just get a little bit of this. Listen, this is so good. It's refreshing, right? And it sits, and you get a little bit of that peach puree situation happening. You got to give this a try. No more mimosas, okay? This is like the new mimosa for 2015. All right, we're gonna start a hashtag and make it happen. So good. So I'm gonna sip this and stir in the. All right, look at that. I wish you could smell this already. Do you see it going to fudge and chocolate, just like in front of your eyes? There you go. And literally, you can make this as chocolatey as you want it. For the amount that was here, about 3/4 of a cup, but go with your heart's desire. Look at that. Look at that batter. Oh, gosh. All right. So now I'm going to work on our mini German chocolate cupcakes, right? So I'm going to use this batter for that particular purpose, all right? So I'm going to take the batter and I'm going to pour it into our mini tins here, all right? Make sure I get everything incorporated. Now watch this. I poured it in here and the same thing applies, right? So I'm going to go right here and I'm just going to fill it again 3/4 of the way up for each one of these. And again, play around with the flavors. I'm using today is the German chocolate, right? Because I love those flavors and those combinations. And I mean, in my house for Thanksgiving, we always have German chocolate cake, right? Somebody makes one, or, you know, they go to a bakery and pick one up. It's one of those classic desserts that people love. And this is just the play on that. But absolutely, you want to do mini red velvet? Go right ahead with the cream cheese frosting. Knock yourself out. All right, look at that. All right, that's going to bake up and be absolutely fantastic. So then this goes off into that same 350-degree oven that we are working on, okay? And the last recipe is an easy one, all right? Because if you saw my postings on social media, which, by the way, at Darius Cooks, if you saw the postings on Instagram or Facebook, then you saw that there's also red velvet cake push pops in the works as well. I use the same batter for that, except now all you do is you add a little bit of red food coloring to the whole shoot match, and you've got red velvet cake batter, all right? No need to do all that because I've got some already done for you. All right, so those go in, and you cook the cupcakes until you put a toothpick in and pull it out, right? And it comes out clean and you're good to go, all right? So first, look at what I've already baked up for you. I already baked up the Twinkies, okay? I'm gonna grab a toothpick here, a skewer, and the way I get these out is very simple. You get in here on one side and you pick it up, right? And because we greased and floured it, look how well that comes up, okay? Now you just bake these for these Twinkies, not that long, right? About 8 or 9 minutes for 350 degrees. Let them cool, all right? And then they'll be good to go. Now that's gonna be fantastic, all right? Meanwhile, guess what else I baked up for you? Okay, these are those chocolate cupcakes. Look at that. Those chocolate cupcakes are ready to go, okay? Ready to go and going to be absolutely fantastic, okay? So let's start putting some stuff together and let's really make it happen, okay? So in the fridge, I went ahead and prepared already classic cream cheese frosting, all right? Recipe is already posted at dariuscooks.com. All you gotta do is go there, type in cream cheese frosting in the search bar and watch this recipe pop up, all right? It's real simple though, like everything simple. A little cream cheese, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of sugar, and the key for this is heavy cream, right? It's heavy whipping cream because what that's gonna do is really allow for us to have a fantastic consistency when it comes to our frosting, all right? So I'm gonna get a spatula here, and then I got just a regular piping bag with just a regular little tip, right? So I have these laying around. You can certainly pick these up from any pastry store. You know, they even have them at places like, you know, Walmart and Target. Look at this frosting. Look at this frosting. Oh, boy.
I have a question.
All right, I have an answer.
Where did you get your polka dot plate?
My polka dot plate. Actually, I don't even know where I got the plate from. You know, what I do is whenever I'm out shopping, I'm picking up stuff, I look around, and if there's something I like, I pick it up and I buy it, right? So I buy just a bunch of stuff and I figure out how to use it later. So I'm not even sure where I got this one from. I'm sure I was out somewhere looking for something else and I saw it, it caught my eye, and I picked it up. All right, look at me, check me out. So I'm just filling a piping bag. Now listen, you don't have to be this fancy with a piping bag, okay? You can certainly go ahead and do the same thing with a food storage bag, all right? It does the exact same thing and you're good to go. I'm just squeezing out the air, right? And I'm just gonna drop a little bit of frosting so I'll make sure I have all the air out, all right? And then the classic Twinkies, they have those 3 dots under them. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come in here and on the underside, I'm gonna fill it up with 1, and you'll fill it, right? There's 2, right? And then there's 3. You can feel it going in. So I'm gonna do another one. There's 1. Oh my gosh, look at that. You have to be careful. I didn't know my own strength. Okay, so you don't want to have that happen to you, okay? So you want to be, and this was planned out. I planned it this way, right? So that I could show you what would happen if that occurs, right? So another way to really enjoy your Twinkies is very simple. You just take the top and put a little frosting on the top and you will be good to go, okay? Just, listen, we're live. And this is what happens when you're live, huh? But listen, we're going to improvise and we're going to go on about our business, okay? Now, there you go. Look at that. You could fill your Twinkies one or either way. You could fill it on the underside or you can fill it the other way. Here's a little frosting. Let me get that frosting up right there.
Question.
Okay, I have an answer.
Did you ever find that eggshell?
No, I ain't found an eggshell. But I guarantee you somebody gonna find it later on tonight. Oh boy. Okay. All right. So those are our Twinkies. Okay. While I'm also on the subject of red velvet, let's talk about our push pops real quick. Okay. Oh boy, that is hilarious. So I got these dandy little contraptions. Remember the push pops from back in the day? Like when you were like a little kid? This is what these are, all right? So they sell these, and you can stuff these with whatever you want to, and then you push it up as you eat it. One day I'm gonna stuff it with like some macaroni and cheese and fried chicken, okay? In the meantime, I've got a bunch of red velvet cake right here, ready to go, right? The same recipe that I use for everything else. I'm gonna take a little bit of red velvet cake, and I'm gonna stuff some in the bottom, just like that, okay? And there's that. Let's look at our cream cheese frosting that's left. And I'm going to put a little bit in, just like that. Okay, and then a little bit more of the red velvet cake on top. Is there a question? Or the comments?
People are just loving the live class.
Oh, yeah, it's live, As they say, things happen. All right, so boom. All right, there we go. There's one. And they have these little caps on them too, right? So you put the little cap on, and there you go. There's your red velvet push pop, just like that. All right. How great and how fantastic is that to serve for your Thanksgiving dinner? Okay. So let me do one more push pop just to show you. So a little piece of cake, red velvet, right? I'm just gonna stuff it down in the bottom. Okay. Then we take a little bit of the cream cheese frosting that was just has a mind of its own this Saturday morning, okay? A little bit more of that cake, and then a little bit more of the cream cheese frosting right on top, all right? And this is certainly something you can certainly involve the kids in. This is a total do-ahead thing. Don't feel like you have to be stressed the day of Thanksgiving to do this. This is certainly a do-ahead situation. The cake recipe I gave you is one of those recipes that will stand up for a couple days, so you're good to go with that. So this could totally be like a 2-day aheader type situation, and you're all good. All right. Let me just put the cream cheese frosting, the Defiant frosting aside. Let me wipe my hands real quick. Oh boy, and let's get to talking about the frosting that's going to go for our German chocolate cupcakes. Okay. So I went ahead and pre-made the frosting. It's a very, very, very simple frosting to do. The only thing I want to differentiate for you is I want to tell you the difference between two types of products. All right, let me grab one because I always have them on hand, and I need you to be aware of which one to get and which one not to get. All right, so listen, in the baking aisle, they sell two products, okay, that look very similar. They sell a sweetened condensed milk. They're not paying me. They sell a sweetened condensed milk on this one, okay? And then here's another one, I got it, where they sell an evaporated milk, okay? So you've got two. You got sweetened condensed and evaporated. Do not buy the sweetened condensed for this frosting recipe. You want to buy the evaporated milk, which is just like milk with some of the moisture removed and a little bit more personality. Speaking about personality, let me drink some sangria while we hear those questions.
James Knox, do you need to refrigerate the cake pops?
Oh, James, you actually don't, right? So I would say this, rule of thumb. If you're serving them within 24 hours of making them, no need to. Anything after that, put them in the fridge.
Okay. April Scott, for the push pop, did you cut up the top of the cake? How did you get the cake pop in?
I just baked the cake in a round pan, like a 9-inch regular cake pan, and just pulled out chunks of it. Right? You just pull out chunks, and you can cut it up. You can make it nice and pretty, but because you're stuffing it down into the container, there's no need to make it nice and pretty. Just pick up some, stuff it in, and you're good to go.
Solid Gold 2000, she's confused. How would you eat the push pop?
Stay tuned. I'm going to taste everything, and you'll see how we eat the push pops. I'll show you. What else?
Paris Friends again. Does the push pop need to be cooled out before eating?
Absolutely, yeah. So the cake has been sitting out. The cake has been cool for a while, right? If you put hot cake in here, first of all, your hands are going to burn. Okay, that's number one. Number two, your frosting is going to melt. So make sure that your cake is cool before you stuff them inside the containers for the push pops.
James Knox wants to know, where did you get your push pop container?
You can get them online. Go to Amazon.com, search for push pop containers, and you'll have plenty of options to choose from. All right, so remember, we're going for the evaporated milk. Look at this. This is a classic frosting for German chocolate, okay? This is going to have your toasted pecans. We're going to have your coconut. It's got some butter, evaporated milk, and egg yolks, right? You put it on a medium heat, and you stir, okay? Look at me, real careful. You stir this, okay? Don't answer the phone. Don't check your email. Don't look at Facebook. Even if you're looking at DariusCooks.com, put me down for a second because you don't want this to burn at all, all right? And it's got the egg yolks. So you got to constantly stir. As soon as it comes to a boil, it thickens, and you're good to go, all right? So let me show you. Real simple. Nothing fancy here. I got a cupcake, and I got some of this delicious frosting. I'm just going to put it right on top, just like that. As much or as little as you like, all right? That is very, very simple. So it's the milk chocolate cupcake with that amazing German chocolate cake frosting that's made with our evaporated milk. Don't forget that, okay? And not our sweetened condensed milk. Totally very, very, very simple to do, and you can totally knock this out, all right? We just do one more, just like this, all right? And you don't have to be that perfect about it. I think if things look good like this, people will still enjoy these. You can totally top these with a little bit more toasted pecan if you want, and then you could also do a little bit of shredded coconut on top. You know, it's completely up to you how you want to knock those out, all right? So there we go with yet what's another recipe. Another recipe calls for another sip, okay? All right, let's knock out and talk real quick about that sweet potato pie on a stick situation, all right? Because that you're going to absolutely love. I know you will, all right? Let me get all this out of my way. And now, there's a couple things I want you to know about making things like this. One is you need to be dealing with very, 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 very cold ingredients, all right? So all I did was took a classic pie dough recipe, all right? There's one available right now. at DariusCooks.com, but I feel there's no need for me to really have to show you how to make one, because you can either buy one or you can make it, and there are tons of recipes out there. But this is very, very cold, right? It's cold because it has the butter in there, and we need to have a flaky crust when we deal with things like this. It's super, super, super important. So, because what happens is that you put this in a hot oven, right? There's water content in the butter. What happens with the water content in the butter is that when the heat gets to it, the steam releases. Once the steam releases, that's what gives you flaky, all right, for your pie dough. So I'm taking a little piece of pie dough, just like this, all right? The rest you could save, all right? And I'm flouring my board. Now, let me tell you, if you want to make a homemade pie dough, you certainly can do that, right? A homemade pie dough is very, very simple, all right? What you do is you take cold butter, and then you mix it with flour and a little bit of sugar, some salt, and then you use cold water, right? If you look really carefully, you can really see the flecks of butter that are still sort of sitting inside, right? And that's what you want to see. Look at that. That's butter. That's butter. You want to see that, all right? So I'm rolling this out, and I want to get it to about a half of an inch. All right, now you want to flour everything. Flour the surface, flour the board, because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want this to stick to anything. All right, and I'm going to show you what else we do for this. Now, you can certainly buy a fancy, they call them ring molds, okay, ring, R-I-N-G, ring molds, or you can find something you got laying around the house, like a glass or a cup. Look at what I found. I found this like contraption laying around my house, right? And it has the rounded edge for me. And so all I'm going to do is create rounds out of my pie dough. So watch this. I'm just going to put this in here. I'm going to press down really hard. And there we go. I got rounds of my pie dough. How simple is that? Okay. So this is going to be for our push pops. Oh, no, our pie on a stick. Sorry. This is going to be for our sweet potato pie on a stick. What you want to do is create rounds. See how thick that is? Like a half an inch or so, right? And again, there is no right or wrong way to do this. So put the rest of the dough to the side, and I want to show you how we make this happen, all right? So I went ahead and roasted off sweet potatoes. Very simple to do. I roasted them off. I mixed them with some butter, a little bit of sugar, some heavy cream, right? Real simple, simple, simple recipe. I'll show you how we do that, okay? Then what you want to do is you could use like a popsicle stick is good. You could certainly use, they sell like the lollipop sticks in those specialty stores, any one of them, okay? You can use that. Just gonna clean up some of the flour. And I'm gonna show you the process. All right, and I'm just gonna do like one or two for you, and then you guys can knock out the rest. So look, this is what I got. See, got these. So two of those. Those are lollipop sticks. Pretty fancy. Now all you do is just lay everything out, okay, and take a little bit of that sweet potato pie filling. You can certainly make your own, or my recipe will be at DariusCooks.com for you. And I'm gonna put just a little dollop, right? Maybe a little more in that one, right? And then the same thing in this one, right in the middle. And then watch this. You take one stick and you put it down in the middle and you press into it, right? Put the other one down and you press into it. And then you pause for a sip of sangria. Ooh, And a little more sangria. Okay. Okay. You take the other second piece and you lay it on top, just like that, right? Like a puzzle. And then you get a fork because you want to crimp the edges really, really well. Look at this. I'm going to dip the fork in a little bit of flour so it doesn't stick, right? And then you just go around all the sides, just like this. If it spills out, it's okay. All right, you're not going to competition with this for the blue ribbon. You put it just like that. And you crimp all sides so you really get Get it in there good. All right. So that's one. And here's our other one. All right. Look at that. All right. Just to make sure it's all down there. Now, this is great by itself, but we're going to do a few more things to really ensure that we have a fantastic finished product. The first thing I'm going to do is I got some egg wash, right? So I got an egg wash that has a little bit of egg, a little bit of water, a little bit of cream, whatever you have, right? And I'm just going to brush right on top, right? Just like that. I'm going to brush this one just like that. Okay. And then, if you can, it's called turbinado sugar, right? So it's that thick sugar that we're going to just drop some right on top, just like this. Okay. And then these also go in that same 350-degree oven until they are super delicious and golden brown. And may I show you what these look like? Please, drum roll. Here you go. Look at that. These are your finished ones. They come out looking absolutely fantastic, just like that. All right. Golden brown, delicious. Okay. That little sugar makes them sparkle, which is what we're going to go for. All right. And on the inside of those, we're going to have some deliciousness happening. All right. So I'm going to drop some of these right here on our plate with our other goodies. Got a lot of stuff happening. All right. And these are great, man. These are going to be like the star of the show. People are like, wait a minute, what's this? And you're like, sweet potato pie. And they're like, no, it's not. And you like, yes, it is. And they're like, no, it's not. But you like, it's on a stick. Okay. There you go. Kill them with that one. All right. Because that's going to mess them up right there. That is going to get them. Okay. Okay. Now, with the few minutes we have left, let's dig into our last recipe. I can't believe the whole hour is almost gone just like that. Jeez. Okay. I got here a couple things I'm going to do. Got a saute pan. Okay. I'm going to get the saute pan on with some peaches. All right. So I'm going to put peaches that are frozen. All right. You can use the canned peaches if you want to. Make sure you drain the juice out. Obviously, fresh is even better. So if you can find fresh, please go with that. All right, I'm throwing a little bit of butter into the action, just like that. And then I've got some sugar as well, okay? So watch that. A little bit of sugar.
Yes, question.
Okay, cool. What's up with our questions?
Will store-bought pie crust work for these?
Absolutely. You can certainly use a store-bought pie crust.
Can they be served cold or hot?
They can be served at room temperature, actually. So I prefer to serve them at room temperature. All right, so a little sugar. I'm dropping a little bit of vanilla. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of salt, right, to bring out some of our flavors, just like that. Remember that cinnamon? That's going to go in. And what makes this really fantastic is I'm going to throw in a little bit of 7-Up pop, okay? Now, I'm from Chicago, so you can say soda, but I'm going to say pop. So that goes in. Watch this, just like that. It's going to be great, all right? And then the last thing is I got a little bit of bourbon, all right? Real Ridgemont Reserve 1792 bourbon. Get the bottle so you know it's real, all right? Look at that. That's the real deal, and that's going to go right in, all right? A couple tablespoons of that. All right. Now put this on the stove on a medium-high heat and let this come together. We're going to thicken it because we'll have a sauce, and I'll walk you through how that goes in a second. All right. But let that come up to temperature and do its thing. Meanwhile, let's talk about what we're doing, right? We're actually getting ready to make 7-Up bourbon, peach cobbler, shortcakes. I'm so excited about this recipe because I love a shortcake, right? I think a shortcake is like fantastic. I think, I think a shortcake is absolutely fantastic because there's lots of things you could put with a shortcake in terms of a sauce. Typically, you know, people normally they do strawberry shortcake, right? Strawberry is a good kind of shortcake to have. You get that flaky biscuit, you get that strawberry and that sauce and that whipped cream. I'm actually going to do the same biscuit, but I'm going to do it with peach cobbler instead, all right? So watch me. I'm going to make the biscuit. I'll show you how we do it. We're going to throw some flour in, right? And the same thing with the pie crust. What really helps out is if everything you do is super flaky and super cold, okay? So I've got my flour. I throw in a little bit of salt, all right? Got just a little bit of baking powder to help with the rise of our...
Sea salt or regular cheese salt?
I love using kosher salt, right? Kosher salt to me is a little bit less harsh on the tongue, and it's a really great alternative. So that's my preference. My preference to use is kosher salt. All right, so our butter is ice cold, and I'm actually going to grate the butter on a box grater. So watch this. Right? So this ensures, instead of cutting it, that I'm going to get what I need with the butter. So I'm just going to go in, and I really just want a stick and a half of butter, and this is a way to do it. So I ensure that my butter is incorporated properly. At the same time, when I put it in that hot oven, it's going to leave me with that flaky, flaky biscuit, or what we call, you know, a shortcake in this example. All right. And this is the time to go for the real deal. All right. This is the real deal butter, not the margarine. And I love this recipe because it really takes me back to, you know, our holidays back at my house. My Aunt Janice is the one who makes the best peach cobbler. And I know every family has that one person that makes like the best peach cobbler, right? And in my family, and this, it really sort of takes me back and reminds me of how she brings it in, because she always comes late to the party. She brings it in. We all stop what we're doing and we run to the table and grab our peach cobbler before it's all gone, because we know that her peach cobbler is literally the best peach cobbler we have ever had. All right. So listen, now that we got our butter in, I'm just going to go ahead and try to incorporate it a little bit, right? And look at the texture. It's now all of a sudden changed, right? And you know it's good when you take the flour, you hold it in your hand like this, you let it go, and it sort of stays before it crumbles. That's how you know you're in really, really, really great territory. All right? All come together. I've got some buttermilk that I'm going to add in, right? Ice cold buttermilk. Now watch this. I'm going to start with about a half a cup or so, and I'm using my hand to really get in here and get around. All right. Now you can always add more. You can't take more out. So I say start with about a half a cup or so, and just, you know, feel your way. I'm going to want it until it just sort of comes together. I have a little bit more to go with this. All right.
Is the flour self-rising?
The flour is not self-rising. That's a really great question. You could totally use self-rising flour. If you do that, then you need to omit the baking powder that I put in. But, you know, if you're just using regular all-purpose flour that you use to fry your chicken in, then you can just certainly omit, you know, if you do that, then you can certainly just use your baking powder like I did. But if you're going to use self-rising, you want to go ahead and omit it. All right. A little bit more moisture, and that's it. All right. Our biscuits or our shortcakes are ready to go. So then all you do is turn this out onto a floured surface, right? You're going to use a biscuit cutter or mold of some sort. Look at that. That's perfect. That's the perfect consistency. Look at that. That's beautiful, right? You still see those flecks of butter inside of there. So you know you're going to have a really good result. Let me just rinse my hands off. And so the idea is to put that into, look at that, the cobbler. Look at the peaches that are cooking up. The idea with the biscuit is just to, you know, roll them out and then cut them up. We're going to put them in the oven that's set at 350 degrees. All right. And those are going to bake until they're super golden brown. Now, for the interest of time, because I know what we're dealing with, I already got some ready to go. All right. Before I show you those, oh, he done already showed you. He had already showed you. But anyway, look, I cut them out, right? And this is a good one. Look at that. So it's like a biscuit. It's a little sweeter, and it's going to be a great vehicle for what's cooking on the stove, okay? And now we were doing some real cooking with this cobbler situation happening over here. Look at this. You see that? It's got the bourbon. It's got the vanilla. It's got all you need in here. Now, the only thing is that it's a little loose, right? It's a little loose. So let me show you what I'm going to do. On the bowl, I got a little bit of cornstarch. I'm going to add a little bit of water, right? Look at this. Cornstarch and water. And all I'm going to do is just stir it together, all right? And then drop this in just like this, okay? And because it's boiling, what's going to happen? It's going to thicken up almost immediately from that cornstarch and water. And we're going to be left with what we know and love. Look at that. It thickens up almost immediately. Look at that. Look how great this looks. You see that? That's peach cobbler right there. All right. Now to finish it off, I got a little bit of fresh whipped cream. All right. So I'm going to make one. And let's see what we got. Let me grab a plate. Look at this. Okay. Look at that cinnamon. That 7-Up pop is going to be great in there because what that does is it adds a little bit of citrus note that we need. All right, here we go. So let's grab one of our shortcakes. I like this one. Okay. I make them pretty big. I'm going to cut it open just like you would do for your strawberry shortcake. Okay. All right. Just like that. Now this is pretty hot. So let me grab something to pour it in with. Look at this. Look at that. Our peaches. Look how quick and easy that was, right? There's our peach cobbler, our 7-Up bourbon peach cobbler shortcake. The peaches go on top. Remember, I'm using frozen, but you can certainly use fresh if they're in season. That would be so great to use. A little bit of juice right on top. Okay, now listen, I don't know where you get your peach cobbler from, but where I used to get mine from, a little bit of whipped cream on top makes all the difference in the world. So I'm going to top it with just a little bit of fresh whipped cream that's going to melt immediately. Oh, and listen, I got a tough job around here. You know, you guys see me whipping up these recipes. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. So I'm going to come in here and cut it open and just get a little taste with the cream. Oh, gosh, my job is so hard. Here we go. Here we go. My job is so hard. Let me tell you something. Okay? That biscuit is so incredibly flaky with some of the peaches and that slight taste of bourbon with that cinnamon. You gotta try it. Oh my gosh. You must try that. That is fantastic. All right, let's get into our carrot cake Twinkies that we purposely frosted this way. Okay, here's one. Wait a minute. When I tell you, oh my God, when I tell you how moist this is, look, the flecks of cinnamon that are inside there. Look at the carrot cake. Look how moist it is. Like, I'm telling you, that's what that oil does, right? Okay, listen. Let's go with one of our cupcakes. German chocolate, mini German chocolate cupcakes. Get a bite of that. This is such a tough job. I mean, geez, I worked so hard. Here's a bite.
Someone wants to know how you got your cupcakes so perfect. Uniform.
Listen, it's so good. This is fantastic. The reason the cupcakes were so perfect and uniform is because of how I poured them in using that measuring cup. That's why they're so perfect. All right. Let me taste our red velvet push pop. Just gonna take the cap off. And I'm gonna go over about 30 seconds because I want to cut into this cheesecake. Okay, here we go. Look at this. You just push it up. You push it up. We just bite it. Ooh! It's so good. So good. It's perfect. Okay. Taste of that. Oh, that's good. Okay. Look, here's our pie on a stick. Okay. Right into this. Look at that. You see the filling on the inside? Hello. That's fantastic. Okay. That's good. Okay. Last thing is our cheesecake. Okay. I'm going to unmold it and take it out. And I'm just going to give you a little sliver, okay, of this cheesecake just for you guys. Somebody has to do it. Might as well be me. Let me get a little piece with that graham cracker crust. Look at that. See, we let it sit overnight. Look at that. You see that? All right, here we go. Let me get a bite of this. I'm excited about this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what it's supposed to be. Okay, listen. All these recipes, I'm going to take great pictures and put them at DariusCooks.com. Go there. Everything's there. Recipes, videos, so much more. 2 things I got to tell you, and we got to go. Food is my life. Life is my food. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm so happy about how everything turned out. I hope these recipes are amazing for you and your family. All right. Until next time, I got to wish you happy cooking from my heart to yours. All right. It's a wrap.
I was told